Hi there. This is the Pennsylvania Clinical Network podcast, where we feature our network's talent and the positive outcomes they yield every day at the PACN. I'm Dr. John Pagan, chair of the PACN and your host. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. DrRahmanian and his successful internal medicine and geriatric practice in Wyomissing, PA, along with his wife, who serves also as their practice manager. Dr. Rahmanian is a longtime member of the PA Clinical Network with consistently high performance levels. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell us the story of the Rahmanians and your practice. How did you end up in Wyomissing, and what inspired you to go into medicine?
Oh boy, that's a long story, but to make it short, after medical school, I had the choice of going to fellowship, residency, and then fellowship. Did the residency, and at the time, at the end of my internal medicine residency, my mother joined me due to some circumstances, health-wise, otherwise, and was staying with me. So I decided to not take too much time doing fellowship at that point, and went into private practice and went from there on. I got my board certification in internal medicine geriatrics 2 years apart, and then every 10 years since then. It's been, I've been in practice for almost 35, 36 years. And to stay in the area, the closest thing, I was in Philadelphia at the time, to my residency, the closest thing was Reading. At that point, Community General Hospital was looking for someone to take over a practice. And I liked the idea of being independent and not an employee, and sort of forged my own way. So I took on that offer and moved over here, and started since then. I was across the street from the Community General Hospital until '97 when they closed, and I moved to Wyomissing at that point. Been busy doing my own inpatient and outpatient practice until April 2020, where a couple of months before that, the Reading Hospital decided to offer me a job anywhere I wanted. But if you don't want it, then please get out. So the two of us, Dr. Christian and I, who were left at the time to take care of our own patients in the county, got the message. And since we were not willing to sell our practice and join the hospital at that point, we decided to stop doing the inpatient. And since then, I do help from time to time when they get desperate at St. Joe's Hospital, or they need help just to keep my skills up, average few days a year as a hospitalist, that sort of thing. I have, in between, when Scott Wolf was the head of Reading Hospital, the CEO, in 2000, early 2000s, he asked me to help him to set up Reading Hospital Medical Group at the time. And I did that with a couple other physicians and was on the board. At that point, I joined the Reading Medical Group for 3 years, from January 1st, 2007 to November 2009. And I was on the board for the Reading Hospital Medical Group, and got out telling him that if I can't keep you guys straight, being on the board and have you keep your promises, I'm not going to definitely be able to do it if I'm not on the board. So I'm out, and went back to private practice. So basically, since 1990 until now, except those almost 3 years in between, I've been in private practice and taking care of patients. Majority of our patients are geriatrics, and about 75%, but we do see 18 and older, and we basically handle typical internal medicine and geriatric problems. Used to do nursing home, used to be medical director of a couple of nursing homes, including one in Hamburg that had multiple vent patients that I used to manage, but those are past days don't have the time to do that anymore, so we haven't done that.
Well, certainly that
Mike,
is.
Mike has been the greatest help. She's been with me pretty much all along. We were married when I moved here, but afterwards, she's the better half and the smarter half. So she helps, keeps me straight, keeps the practice going.
Well, I mean, it's quite a story for both of you, and certainly a wealth of experience, in all the different roles that you played in the community, interacting with the regional hospital, interacting with the local physicians, and certainly it's not for lack of choices, but you remain independent and strongly independent. Well, both of you for that, and certainly that is commendable. I don't know if you can briefly summarize what are the best aspects of having an independent practice, and maybe follow up with that. What are the biggest challenges of an independent practice?
I think most of our colleagues have experienced either side of the fence or both, and aware of some of those. As physicians, we have an independent streak in us, and that's why physicians never unionized or became a large group, etc. And that's, I guess, that's the type of person that gets attracted to medicine, and therefore to join an entity, be it a hospital or private investment, etc., it would dampen that independent streak, that ability to use that to your benefit, and it makes it less enjoyable, especially when you have strenuous guidelines. We have, with the EMR, everything got more difficult. People are more stressed out, they're burned out, etc. To have an entity like a hospital come and say, well, we want to see this many patients a day, or this way or that way, and even though they claim they don't interfere with your autonomy, they in a way interfere with your autonomy and the time you have with your patient, and that makes it much more difficult and unpleasant. And I can see the examples. I know a number of physicians, for example, in our local hospital, who were fired because they didn't see a patient every 15 minutes and have everything in EMR in time, and kept the office open too late at night, etc., etc. That none of us went to medicine to deal with that sort of headache. Now, at the same time, most physicians, or all physicians, have no training, and that's sad, but have no training when it comes to financial end of the business, and therefore they have this huge fear: what am I going to do? What's a ledger sheet? How do I bill for the stuff? Who's going to run the practice? I don't know. I never ran anything before. And that's unfortunately a big fear on the other side too. Unless you are willing and interested, and you are an advocate for your own autonomy, etc., you're not going to be willing to learn all the extra steps like I did walking into it. In my case, the first year I had the hospital that was selling me the practice, or moving me to that new practice, helped me with the practicing established, and that was a big help, and that gave me some cushion to learn. But once you do that, and you realize that it's really not that difficult. It's a simple thing. It is like running your household. If you can balance your budget at home and know how much you allocate to grocery and gas and everything else, you can do the practice too. And these days you can swap everything out, including your billing and so on, if you want to. So it's a lot easier. And why would you want then to have a bean counter over your head? Someone who will tell you, well, leave the business to me because I'm the MBA, you're not, so you have no clue what you're doing. When we've been running the business for all these years, and obviously not been bankrupt or anything, and doing well. So why would you want someone like that, who has little clue and totally different incentives, to run your life, run your business, and tell you how much time you should spend with your patient and how you should handle your patients and where you should send your patients, although they deny it. That you can only send them to our hospital and no other place, even though it's illegal. But there are things like that they all do. And if you really want to sell yourself and be under the thumb, to have a quote unquote security job, I think the answer for most people would be no, but they're too afraid or too squeamish to try doing it the other way. And I'm hoping at some point there'll be entities out there saying, you know what, we'll help you do all that stuff. You practice and you tell us, what you want to do, and we'll, get a certain percentage running everything, and stay out of it that way. And if that happens, then the independent physicians are going to have more options to do so. Unfortunately, most physicians coming out of medical school, again, have no idea, and they're too afraid that they don't know. I think every medical school should have a finances 101 class, and then they should teach you the basic, ledger sheets and then running the store, and that would make a huge difference.
You've said so much there, and actually we could go on forever, but we're going to end this portion of our podcast. But stay tuned, because we're going to have a part 2 with the Rahmanians and their practice. But as always, a successful practice is built on a team, and I think we'll give your wife Cheryl and office manager the last word for this episode here. Behind the scenes running an independent practice, any tips or tricks or anything? I know for physicians, sometimes a lot goes into this, making it successful, and we may not necessarily see that on the front lines.
Well, I just hear it from the patients, their gratitude and appreciation when they come as a new patient, and they're like, I feel like I'm in a real practice and I'm seeing a doctor, and they're so appreciative that the time that he spent with them, and just the interaction they have with the staff. So that is rewarding, especially hearing when they come from the other practices, the situations that they were in, with providers leaving, the turnaround is so great. And so just, I know our patients appreciate us.
Well, that's fantastic. And that wraps up our conversation for today's show. We really appreciate the time of the Rahmanians and the strong work that you do for your practice and all of the PA Clinical Network. I'm Dr. John Pagan, chair of the PACN and your host. Thanks for tuning in to this installment, but stay tuned for part 2 of the Rahmanians shortly.